Hey up troops, A Littleton here again with another video, and stop what you're doing. New Siege patch just got announced for Year 8 Season 4.2 for the new patch which was released on the test server last week, which is now coming onto the live server with some additional changes. We're doing all this in one take. I'm going to change the scene right now. We're going to look at what's going on the patch notes. So first, it's the designer notes that we always get. So we're going to look at a couple of different balancing things on the operator picks at the top. I've now learned, by the way, I can't remember, and I really apologize, whoever it was that said, this just used to loop all the time. If you right click and click show controls, you can just pause it. I didn't know that. I learned something. Whoever commented that on one of the old videos, thank you very much. Right, so let's have a quick look at Win Delta on PC, Emerald and above. We've got, look at Ash. Ash is in 60 to 70%, about 64% of the rounds, which is a bit mad. I never thought it'd be that much. Iana's up there as well, just less than 50%. Then we've got Ace and we've got Buck. That doesn't surprise me at all, especially the Buck pick, who's so versatile at the minute. These three here worry me a little bit because I think they're actually skewed figures, and I don't want to speculate too much, but I think those three operators have got LMGs, and I think that could actually be cheaters who are picking operators with LMGs who are skewing the stats there a little bit, because Finka, Zephyr and Amaru are not picked in as many games as that when there aren't cheaters involved. So I think those stats are skewed a little bit there. Not 100%, that's just what I think. Then we've got Dokkaebi, who's obviously really high picked. I'm surprised at this. Jackal's pick rate is middle of the road, but like a really low win rate, which I'm surprised at. Win delta, as they call it. I'm calling it win rate. Really low win rate, which I think is quite surprising, but nothing there particularly stands out to me other than Ash being so high. I didn't realise that Ash was in nearly 3 out of 4 rounds being played now. It doesn't surprise me at all. I made a video on Ash the other day. If you've not seen that, go and watch it. With the mirror change and the mirror nerfed and the Ash buff, so to speak, it doesn't surprise me at all. Let's have a look at the defence. Nowhere near the spread on defence, have we? That we've got on attack there. Legion doesn't surprise me. People still being a warden clutch doesn't surprise me at all. Now, what does surprise me is seeing Fenrir, Azami, Solis, and Tubarao not up here. Like, if you want to win a defensive round on Siege at the minute, pick Azami, Tubarao, Fenrir, Solis. Sorry, absolute brain fart there. That does surprise me. I thought it'd be more like this with the defense, but that is mad a bit with Rook as well, being such a high win percentage. It was a high win rate with such a low pick rate. And this surprises me as well with Castle. I would have thought Castle would have been more towards the middle. Now, what worries me a little bit with this is sometimes you often see operators that are down here that then get buffed. I don't think Castle needs a buff. I don't think Goyo needs a buff. I think Vigil might need a buff. But it's interesting the way that the defenders are spread out. It's like an arrow shape, isn't it? Anyway, ban rate. That is not surprising to me. I ban Dokkaebi over Thatcher every time now. Those three are not surprising at all. The Ram ban I don't see very often. The Ying ban you see a lot. I think we're going to see more Bonti bans when the new shield rework comes in. Ban rate on defense. Fenrir doesn't surprise me, it's so high. This will drop now people realize how easy it is to counter with Ash. And then we've got Solis, who I think should be right at the top anyway. I ban Solis. For me, every map I play, I ban Dokkaebi and I ban Solis. I'm not bothered about mirror anymore. So, it's got me earphones caught then. These are the big changes. Get your head around this. Zotto canisters for Tubarao decreased from 4 to 3, or decreased to 3 from 4. No longer affects Maverick's DIY blowtorch. Electrical insulation effect extended by 1.5 seconds after canister's destruction. So let me run through what all of these mean. This basically just says that they know Tubarao is very effective and they don't quite know his position in the meta at the minute. But they know they need to do something with him. I'll save you the pain of reading that. Let's just go through reading these quickly. Decrease from 3 to 4. Everyone knows what that means. No longer affects Maverick's DIY blowtorch. What that means is, what it did to Mav's torch is, a reinforced wall has 2 layers. And Mav could, when it was frozen, Mav could Mav the outside layer, no problem, just as normal. But it would delay the destruction of the inner layer, of the inner reinforcement. You used to have to... The best description is you had to sort of mav it twice to get the same effect that you would do if it wasn't frozen. So it really did, 1, take a lot more of the torch's ammo, and 2, take you a lot longer to get through the wall when it was frozen. It was a bit of a nightmare, really. So I'm glad they've changed that, because now Tubarao has got a direct counter in Maverick. Regardless of whether the wall's frozen, you can still zip it open with the Mav torch. That's a good change. I really like that. more on math below, which I didn't notice on the test server last time, but we'll come to that in a second. Electrical insulation extended by 1.5 seconds after canister's destruction. Now, what I think this means, and I've read it here, this paragraph here, the electrical insulation on metal objects affected by Zotto canisters previously lasted as long as the canister was active on the surface. The added 1.5 seconds of electrical insulation allows the attacking team with strong coordination a chance to respond and forces the defense to be much more precise in the execution of their strategy if they want to succeed with denying the breach. So, this is what I've got in my mind with what that means. It used to be you had a bandit battery on the wall, you EMP the bandit battery, you put the thermite charge on the outside of the wall, the thermite charge starts going off. Tubarão throws a canister at the wall, which stops the thermite charge from going off temporarily. Once the EMP effects had worn off, you were able then to, and once the Tubarão frozen canister, Zotto canister effects wore off, as soon as that frozen wall wasn't frozen anymore, the bandit battery came back on straight away and it would destroy the thermite charge on the other side. What this reads to me, and I'm going to have to test it, so please don't comment this in 2 days' time and say, that's not what it means, we've tested it. I haven't tested it yet, obviously, because this was released 18 minutes ago. So what this now means to me is, once you've thrown that Zotto canister at the wall, the bandit battery won't become active for another 1.5 seconds after the Zotto canister is gone. So what you need to think is, once that thermite charge starts going for maybe a second and a half, before the Zotto canister's thrown, that's about halfway through the thermite charge's fuse time, which is somewhere between 3 and 4 seconds. So that means the thermite charge only needs another 1.5 to 2 seconds to go off once it's unfrozen. So you're going to have to think, I think that will mean thermite could get away with getting some walls open now. Now, what I don't know, and this is where we're going to have to test it, if the bandit battery is put on the wall and it's then frozen, when you pick that bandit battery back up and put another bandit battery down, is that still affected by the electrical insulation effects? So once you put the new battery down, does that new battery not become active for 1.5 seconds after the Zotto canister is destroyed? That's what I've got to work out. It will definitely affect the existing battery, but if Bandit picks that battery up whilst it's frozen and puts a new battery down, or just puts a new battery down, you don't have to pick the old one up anymore, do you? You can just put a new battery down. Is that then still affected by that 1.5 seconds? That's what I've got to test. However, good changes, needed changes, especially I like Maverick, and I especially like it going from 4 to 3. And we're going to do a bit of testing on that 1.5 seconds. Ace, these changes are what we discussed last week. Fuse timer increased to 4 seconds from 3.2. Not a massive change. It's about what? About that change. From now to now. But it's just less than a second. I don't know why I'm doing that like you don't know what a second is. People are watching this going, why is he doing that? We all know what a second is, mate. Ace doesn't have many downsides. The Selma is safe to use, quick to explode, fast to use in succession, which is very difficult to bandit trick against, well, impossible. However, this does mean now, if you get your bandit trick absolutely spot on when the first Selma starts going off, you could then trick the second Selma, because the bandit battery takes about 3.5 seconds to put down. So if you're in the middle of the wall, you can go bang on the first Selma, bang on the second Selma, and you could technically get 2, but it would have to be so precise. If you accidentally mess up the first, or you don't quite get to the second in time, it's not going to make a difference. Then it starts talking about the difference between Thermite, Banner, and Maverick. We all know the difference there, and I agree with what they're saying. By increasing the fuse time, we want to give defenders a better chance to prevent the breach when a lot of resources are being dedicated to protecting the wall. The extra time will increase the synchronization between the breacher enabler, Thatcher impact EMPs, and Ace to actively defend the wall successfully. Completely agree. I think that's not a bad change. It was difficult when Tubarão was as strong as he was, but now Tubarão isn't as strong. Then, boom, we're back on with Ace. Look there, by the way, that's an interesting change to 4 seconds, because there's 1.5 seconds of electrical insulation post Zotto canister. So you need to make sure, if you're playing Tubarão, that you throw your Zotto canister at the wall at least 2.5 before 2.5 seconds of that Ace being on the wall, which is what, 1, 2. It's not long. You've got 2.5 seconds to throw the Zotto canister at the wall Otherwise, they'll have an additional 1.5 seconds at the end of it, and that Selma charge will still go off. It will only be the top one, obviously. The top hole on the Selma. The bottom one will still get destroyed, but just gives you another option there to try and get a bit of the wall open. Kapkan. This is an interesting one that I actually didn't get at first, and then I've read the explanation, and I think it actually makes sense. Kapkan has a huge impact on every round, regardless of the number of traps triggered. The way attackers must approach the map changes after spotting him or triggering one of his traps. Nothing worse than walking into a Kapkan trap. They have to slow down and start paying attention to every window and door frame to ensure they won't blow up. They're not messing about, are they? They're absolutely correct. The last buff to the EDDs make the psychological effect even stronger because you may not get a second chance. This is very true. We considered that Urizier already has enough tools to make attackers lose time, and the impact grenades are giving him it makes him more elusive, essentially, allowing him to create rotations on the fly and make attackers invest even more time in hunting him down. I completely agree. However, most Kapkan players take C4, but I do agree that is a good point. Like, if you're playing Kapkan with impacts and you're on the roam, that you force an attacker through a trap, you can just throw and rotate somewhere and disappear somewhere else. It's more difficult to track him down. I completely agree. I don't think it's going to make massive change, because I would say most people play C4, but I haven't even mentioned the change, by the way. The change is they've added bulletproof camera, got rid of impact grenades. I think most people play C4, but still, I think it's a good change if you did play elusive Kapkan. Maverick. I didn't even spot this on the test server last week. They've added smoke grenades to Maverick. This is a massive change. I'm going to be playing Maverick a hell of a lot more. His gun's insane. And now you can open a breach and cover yourself and conceal yourself, unless they've got a warden, obviously. It's going to make life a bit easier. So, we're aware that Maverick has a bit of a situational... Wait, what? We are aware that Maverick is a bit situational. Start again, Andy. Hang on. Let me... Start again. We're aware that Maverick is a bit situational without frag grenades, and despite not having hard counters, there are not too many situations that justify bringing him over other hard breaches and an EMP. Agreed. However, TUBARAO changed that. It's dangerous to rely on him as the main breacher because of the time in danger whilst he's doing the job, correct? And as a secondary breacher, someone more flexible such as Ace or Urbana or the hard breach charge is usually a less limiting choice for the team. Absolutely correct. Apologies for the noise in the background there. That was Tarkov closing on me because I've been idle for too long. We hope that the smoke grenades can help him be more appealing as a secondary breacher and increase his flexibility. He can also help with site execution or even cover himself while breaching through reinforcements. I don't know why that's like the last point. Like, that was the first thing I thought about. Like, you're going to be able to cover yourself whilst opening a wall. So we all know you can do the top line when you're Maverick tricking, right? No problem. The bottom line is what's difficult because you've got some numpties on the other side. Tarkov, behave, man. I'm in the middle of a video. I knew that was going to happen. Ignore that. I'm not editing that out. We said we're doing it all in one take. We hope the smoke grenades can help me more appealing as a secondary breacher. Yes, they will do, because now we can all do that top line, but that bottom line, normally there's some numpty on the other side of the wall who's prone trying to get an angle on you while you're opening the bottom line. Well, that's not going to be the case anymore, because yes, they can pre-fire that line and have a good idea of where you're going to be, but it's not a freebie like it used to be. Also means that the synergy between Mav and Glaz is going to be more prominent now, because Mav can bring the smoke grenades, Glaz could bring the frag grenades, and it means that synergy between Mav and Glaz could now exist. Just remember, you're never safe in smoke because Warden exists, and you can also just pre-fire to where you think they're going to be. But I think that's a very, very good change. They've added smoke grenades, so if you still want flashes, you can still take flashes. This is an interesting one. Thunderbird added the deployable shield. I think this is a very good change, because I actually think Thunderbird was one of the worst defenders. Like, I would never take Thunderbird over anyone else on the defensive lineup, maybe other than Caveira. I feel like her heals were good, and now they got nerfed a little bit, but adding a deployable shield makes it definitely more appealing to play Thunderbird, because that gun, that spear, is insane on defense, by the way. It's so good. We finished this transition to a more supportive role with the latest tweaks to the Kona station and loadout changes back in Season 2. But it seems the utility is not appealing enough. They're absolutely spot on. To anyone who says that Ubisoft don't know their own game is incorrect, because all of this is spot on. They know what they're talking about. The addition of the deployable shield will allow us to create genuine strongholds for defenders by herself. The protection from the shield and the backup from the Kona stations can make any defender in these positions a hard target to deal with. You can add a few ADSs or magnet systems to prevent the shield from getting destroyed too, and attackers will have a tough time trying to move you out of position. Completely agree. Additionally, the Spaz 15 is also improved. We'll come on to that in a second. We believe that these changes make her more appealing to players who like to experiment with different setups to help their teammates from the back line. Agree. Completely agree. Good change. I would consider playing Thunderbird based on the fact I can now anchor a certain position with the shield. Let's just think, for example, common shield spots. When you're defending Statue Trophy on Villa and you put one on the master door on what people call bricks or concrete. I would absolutely play Thunderbird there with a couple of corner stations. Weapon balancing. SPAS 15. So these are all the changes that we talked about last week. The SPAS 15 recoil has now been reduced, 100% reduced. Well, I don't mean 100% reduced, but I mean it's definitely been reduced. I tried it on the test server last week, and it's much easier to control. The G36, the recoil has gone up, but it's not ridiculous. It's still absolutely usable. It's just not a laser beam like it used to be. I think also a good change. People were just going, oh, I need an attacker, I need a good gun, Ash, and not thinking about what Alsash brings. I made a video on that last week. Last week you'll see that. I think it was the last video or second to last video I did. I think that's a good change. Again, you don't the devs and like Ubisoft don't ever want a gun to be the sole reason you pick an operator. And for some of those guns, it was the case that's what people were doing. LMGs, obviously. And you can think of another couple of guns like Jaeger when his 416 was insane. Twitch on the F2. People were just picking it for the gun. That's now been changed, and I agree with it. But it's still usable. It's not, when they nerfed the R4C and Zephyrs M762, I think it is, when they nerfed those two guns, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, I can't use this. And the F2, actually, and you're like, I can't use this anymore. Well, it's definitely still usable. SMG11 base stats reduced to 32 HP from 35. I haven't done any maths on this, but I was watching a stream, and I'm really sorry because I can't remember who it was. I think it was Pengu. I think it was Pengu's stream when he did some maths and calculated that it won't actually make any difference because it'll still be 3 shots to kill most people. I think he worked out. So, I don't think that's going to affect anything. SMG11 has always been a headshot machine, and you need headshots to make the SMG11 effective. So I don't think it's going to affect much. For a very long time, the SMG11 has been the weapon with the lowest time to kill amongst all automatic weapons by far. The change in damage will put it more in line with the other weapons while remaining among the fastest. The change will increase the bullets required to kill... Oh, here we go. Explanation. The change will increase the bullets required to kill 1 armor operators by 1, rewarding precision and punishing spraying and praying. We could have reduced the damage even further without affecting TTKs, but we want it to remain appealing enough to pair with primary shotguns. It is a good point because the SMG11 is a secondary weapon, and it's better than most primary weapons. So all it's changed with this, all that's changed here, is it now takes an extra shot to kill 1 armor operators, which is nothing really, is it? Especially if you're just aiming for the head anyway. I feel like the SMG, it is mad when you actually just think about it for a second. It's a secondary weapon, and it does the time to kill is way better than most primary weapons. And you've still got a decent shotgun as well. So they are right. It was really, really strong for a while. There we go. That's all the new patch. Now, the question that always comes with this is, when is this patch coming in? I don't know the answer to that. It's not been announced yet. However, it's normally not long from when it's announced. So I imagine it will be at the very latest a week, but this is generally within 24, 48 hours from when this is announced. There's nothing on there to say when it's coming in yet. There's nothing on the tweet. So whenever it comes in, it won't be long, but some very good changes, especially, in my opinion, to Tubarao and especially to Maverick. Thunderbird loadout's interesting. The Kapkan change, not really going to affect many because most use C4. I don't think this is going to affect many people. Less than a second of a difference, not huge. But yeah, massive changes. That are definitely going to affect the way that you play defense because of this. I'm looking forward to it. I love the fact that things that get changed in Siege, I really do. It's what keeps it in. Every season, different operators are played in a different meta because the way the operators interact. If everything stayed the same, it will get stale so quickly. So embrace the changes, get involved. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Whether you've watched it start again, Andy. Whether you've watched it for 10 seconds, 10 minutes, or 10 hours, thank you very much for getting involved. I might make the videos, but what's the point? There's nobody out there watching them. So thank you for getting involved with the channel. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Cheers!